With the NHL season just about to get underway, today it's time to make some predictions. So I'm going to go through each of the 4 NHL divisions and give you my predictions on the 21-22 NHL standings. And that's coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, today we're doing some predictions for the NHL standings for the season that's about to start here, the 21-22 season. A couple of quick disclaimers and disclosures just to keep in mind. One, this is strictly just for fun. If I pick your team that you cheer for to be lower in the standings or last, it does not mean I hate your team. It just means I'm not confident in where they're going to finish this year. And another thing, I realize I'm probably going to get a fair bit of these wrong because this is a really tough job to do and be incredibly accurate. There's always some unpredictable things like injuries, and you have some breakout players you didn't see coming. Some players struggle that you didn't see coming. Lots of things happen that you just cannot predict. So at the end of the day, if we even get half of these right, I'll consider myself doing relatively well. But I certainly will do, fun to look back on this later to see how we did. But it's really hard, so I'd like to know your predictions as well. So, just kind of keep everything mature in the comment section. If you don't agree with my predictions, that's totally fine. Let me know what yours are, and down in the comments, we'll discuss it further. Now, we're going to get started with the Atlantic Division. Now, with the Atlantic Division, of course, we have 8 teams. We have 8 teams across all 4 divisions for the first time now, with the Kraken joining the NHL, having an even number of 32 teams across the NHL. I am predicting the first place team will be the back-to-back Stanley Cup champions, Tampa Bay Lightning. Even though the Lightning certainly had a fair bit of change this offseason, mainly due to cap issues, I think they're still going to be a really strong team. Their top 6 is pretty much the same. A lot of the top D, they still have Vasilevsky. Even though their third line, which was a lot of ways the second line for them last year with Gord and Gaudreau, even though those guys and Tyler Johnson, even though those guys are gone, I still see this team being really strong. The young players that are about to step in and try to replace them are also pretty good, and I just don't think they're going to be able to be upset here. They just have too much firepower between Kucherov and Stamkos up front, Braden Point, Cirelli, Victor Hedman on the back end, and Andrei Vasilevsky between the pipes. I just don't see how they can really be slowed down a whole lot unless they get into injury problems or into the playoffs. So I'm picking Tampa to be first. I'm saying their state rival, the Florida Panthers, are going to be number 2 in the division this year, second place. I think the Panthers proved last year just how good they were. They've made some more additions, and this team is going to continue to get better. They got some more youth coming along with a full year of Spencer Knight. I really like the fact on how they trimmed out some of the players that were not being productive for them, like Strawman and Yandel, etc. Like, they really changed their blue line. They added even more firepower up front. And I think the Florida Panthers are going to be an absolute force to be reckoned with here. And we're going to see the 2 Florida teams be the dominant teams in this division for not only this year, but it could keep going for a little while here longer. Third place, I've got the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now, the Leafs, I think, obviously had a disappointing year again last year. A really solid regular season with another first-round playoff exit. We're not going to get into the playoffs here today. We're going to talk about the regular season standings. But I do have the Toronto Maple Leafs maybe taking a little bit of a step back, being in a tougher division this year, but I still think they're going to be a real solid team, and I don't think there's going to be a great deal of point separation between the top teams. Obviously, the Leafs definitely get into playoffs with being in the third place spot. I see them being just a little bit behind the Florida teams. Ultimately, goaltending is going to be tested this year. A full 82 campaign for Campbell leading the way. Now he's got Peter Mrazek as his running mate. Can they get the job done? They should be able to, but it's going to be a different look for the Leafs for sure. Up front, we've got a whole different mix of players as a supporting cast for the Big Four. Several changes within the forward group this year. Will new guys like Richie and Kasha and Kampf and Bunting and all these guys come through? Time will tell. I think it's going to be a bit of an adjustment period, and I see them finishing in third place. Fourth place, I've got the Boston Bruins, and this is a tough one, to be honest. I think the Bruins are going to open the year with some question marks on this roster. Will Linus Ullmark be the real number 1 goaltender? He did not look good in the preseason. I have concerns about him. I have concerns about the number 2 center spot. I'm not convinced at this point they're going to give it to Jack Stagnica, at least not from the get-go. I think, Charlie Coyle, I don't have confidence there. The Bruins, to me, are going to be a team to watch and maybe make a trade or two to try to make some upgrades. But goaltending, to me, is the big question mark. Swayman might have to take over and run with it if they're going to have a real shot at getting into the playoffs this year. Number 5, I've got the Montreal Canadiens. I see the Habs taking a step back, of course, but that's based on their playoff run. If you look at the last year's regular season, it really isn't a step back. But they're going to be without Carey Price to start the year for at least a month, maybe more. Shea Weber's not going to play this year. They lost Philip Deneau. They do have some good additions they've brought in. They're starting the year banged up. I'm concerned over a slow start, and that could derail their playoff hopes this year. I think they're going to be a good team. I think they're going to be a fun, exciting team. They still have lots to look forward to with Suzuki and Caulfield. Toffoli, Anderson, Hoffman all should be relatively productive this year. But, the changes that they've gone through, to me, might just be enough to slow them down, that they're going to have a tough time in this division with the teams I have placed ahead of them. In 6th place, I've got the Ottawa Senators. The Sens should be a better team than last year, theoretically, but that's all going to depend on Brady Tkachuk. Did they get him signed, and when does he get into the lineup here? He's likely going to miss at least the first game or two at this point, considering there's no deal here as of yet. And that's a big void for them. It's going to create a real identity issue. They have to play a different way without him being in that lineup, and they're not going to be as offensive. It's going to be a big blow here. So as much as I do think they're going to be able to build off last year's strong finish, I'm just not sure without Tkachuk and with having some identity problems there without it, and they get some injury issues to start the year. I'm not sure that they're going to have a great start, and even though they might, again, pick it up as the year goes along, it might be too much to overcome all these other teams, so that's why I have them where they are. Detroit Red Wings at number 7. The Red Wings, to me, again, are going to make improvements like Ottawa. I just don't think those improvements are going to be enough to really work their way up the standings, but they have some great young talent to watch, like Lucas Raymond, Moritz Seider. The different goaltending this year with Alex Nedeljkovic should be good. I think there's a lot to like about the Red Wings. We're going to see some good progress, but again, in a really tough division. Just don't see how they're going to be able to climb up any higher here in the standings. Number 8 in last place, in case you haven't figured it out, I have the Buffalo Sabres. This should not be a shocker. No Jack Eichel, no Sam Reinhart. They've moved along several other players. Certainly some big question marks in goal. There's a lot to be concerned about with this team. Lots of changes, although they do have a lot of young talent, though, that are exciting for the future. They did prove that during training camp. We get to see some of their young players like Peterka and Quinn have bright futures as well. Dylan Cousins is going to be on this team and have a bright future. We should hopefully see a full, hopefully better, steady campaign out of Casey Middlestat. We'll have to watch Rasmus Dahlin and how things go with him. And really, at the end of the day, there's going to be a lot of changes, and I see them being, one of the higher teams here in the lottery. Now, next, let's jump over and look at the Eastern Conference's other division, the Metropolitan. Now, in the Metro, it's going to be a bit of a dogfight. Just like the Atlantic, it's going to be tough. But I think, in my opinion here, the Atlantic's got more of the top talent at the top, and then the middle is going to be like your part that gets a little more condensed from, say, Boston, Montreal, Ottawa, Detroit. Is going to be a little closer, whereas the Metro, I think it's going to be a dogfight right from 1 down to about 6. But at the end of the day, I have some top teams here that many people probably are predicting the other way missing. So let's get into that. First place, I have the New York Islanders. I have the Islanders winning the division here. I don't really see too many weaknesses. If you look at the goaltending is real solid. The blue line is solid. The goal scoring to me could be better, but they give up so little that they score enough. But to really get over that hump and to really be that top cup contender, which I think they can be, I would imagine that that's something that Lou Lamoriello is going to be watching for this year to see if he can make a move to make that forward group just a little more offensive. But they also have a full year of Kyle Palmieri. Hopefully Anders Lee can stay healthy. They did get to shed a lot of dead weight, so to speak, like some of the other teams like Florida. Lou pulled off some magic this offseason, and I think that for the regular season at least, they will be the top team in this division. Next up at number 2, I've got the Carolina Hurricanes. To me, the Hurricanes are still a strong team. My question mark for them, and the main reason I have them in the number 2 spot, not the number 1, is I'd like the Islanders' goaltending much better. Carolina, to me, going with Ranta and Freddie Anderson, has a lot of question marks. They both have had issues staying healthy recently. They both had issues with inconsistencies, and I'm just not sure that that's really better than what they had before. So to me, goaltending is not as good as the past. At least at the very least, it's a question mark. The rest of the team, though, is as good or better considering the additions they make. Of course, we'll see how the Kotkaniemi offer sheet situation works out for them. But I think Carolina is going to be a real strong team, one of the tops in the East and in the Metro. But I think the Islanders will be a step ahead because of goaltending. Number 3, we've got the Capitals. The Capitals are still pretty well built to have playoff success. They do need to have a bounce back year from Kuznetsov. Ovechkin's on a new contract pushing for more record. Not only is he going to work more towards closing in on Gretzky's all-time goal record, he's also set to possibly break the all-time mark for power play goals too. So that's certainly something we could see not too far into the year, currently held by Dave Andreychuk. To me, the Capitals, with Samsonov between the pipes, they've got a relatively steady blue line and lots of firepower up front. My big issue with Washington, and which could cause this to be wrong and maybe cause them to fall further in the standings, would be the fact that they are getting older. They do have a little bit of youth in this team. They're looking to get guys like Lapierre and McMichael more playing time, which is good. Obviously, Samsonov is young between the pipes, but a lot of their top players, from Ovechkin to Backstrom to Kuznetsov, etc., they're TJ Oshie, they're not as young as they used to be, and they could start to run into more injuries. And if that happens, we could see a different season than I'm predicting here. Number 4, we've got the New York Rangers. The Rangers are going to be a team I think are going to get into the playoffs this year. They should be able to push for a spot. We saw what they did last year, and to me, they're only going to get better. They obviously made some additional changes, have a new head coach in Gerard Gallant. Gerard Gallant's had tons of success in the last number of years he's coached, doing a GM with Chris Drury, got to make some moves and leave his mark on this team as well. I really like the young talent taking another big step forward this year. You got Adam Fox off a Norris Trophy winning season, just signed Mika Zibanejad to a huge contract. Kakko and Lafreniere should take some steps this year. They certainly got a lot tougher and harder to play against, and because of that, I think they can pull ahead of some of these teams and get into the playoffs. Number 5, I've got the Pittsburgh Penguins. I have the Penguins taking a step back this year. I don't think the goaltending is going to be where it needs to be. Have concerns on the blue line. You got Crosby was supposed to be out to start the year. That might change now, but even then, Malkin's going to be out. Originally, they said a month or two. Now it's sounding like he might be out until after Christmas, and that is going to be a big blow for the Penguins. I don't think this is going to be the year. I think it's going to be a year of change in Pittsburgh. Number 6, I've got the Philadelphia Flyers. This one was tough. The Flyers, to me, made a lot of changes this year, but I'm not convinced that they're really going to be that much stronger defensively in between the pipes, which ultimately will be their undoing. Obviously, Carter Hart could very well prove me wrong, and he's the big X factor here. If Carter Hart plays the way that I thought he could a couple of years ago, then Carter Hart could totally screw up my whole prediction here and have the Flyers, I think, maybe as high as maybe even 3rd in this division, maybe even 2nd, really. But at the end of the day, the Flyers made a lot of changes. I'm not sure that Ristolainen on that blue line is really going to be all that helpful. I do like Ryan Ellis playing with Provorov, so the top pair should be better. That'll be good. But they were a defensive mess last year, and I'm just not sure that I see enough here to really project them much higher in the standings. Number 7, I've got New Jersey. This one's also a tough call. I think we're going to see the Devils make some good progress. And to be honest, if my Pittsburgh and Philadelphia predictions that they're going to be down years and not be successful, then we could see New Jersey even surpass them and move up in the standings here a few spots. I think they could be one of the surprise teams. If I'm wrong on anybody in the Eastern Conference, I think New Jersey's the team I have the most confidence in to prove me wrong. There's a lot of that young talent like Heischer and Hughes, and they got even more guys jumping in. They added Dougie Hamilton. They have Blackwood and Bernier, which is going to be a more solid goaltending duo this year. Should all come together, and this team could be much better than I'm predicting. Like I said, I have them in 7th place just because I think a lot of these other teams are going to be a little stronger, but I could see them proving me wrong here and moving up 2 or 3 spots on this division. And in the last place, I have Columbus. I think this is going to be the year the Jackets take a step back. Obviously, maybe even sell off a few more assets and kind of head more towards a rebuild. But I just don't see there being enough talent offensively or defensively left with this team to go any higher in the standings. Now, before we jump over and look at the Western Conference, I want to pause for a moment and acknowledge one of our channel sponsors, Exter Smart Wallets. Top Shelf Hockey is proud to be sponsored by Exter. Forbes calls Exter the most successful smart wallet brand in the world. They certainly have high-quality products, high-grade leather. You can put all your cards in your wallet with RFID protection, and you can track it worldwide. That's the best part. You don't have to worry about losing your wallet and not being able to track it down. They have a great selection of products to choose from here, a variety of colors and styles, something to surely help for everyone. As you can see in the demonstration here for the product I have, this is a beautiful packaging, high quality. When you open it up, you get a high quality wallet with lots of slots for your cards. you have yourself a money clip if you want to carry cash on you here as well. And certainly, as you can see, the quality is outstanding. And here you can see the switch where you can help open up your cards. You just one little click and boom, everything fans out right in front of you. Easy to access. Your cards are protected. And here's the back where you have yet another slot. A terrific overall product, and I can't recommend these enough. Extra ships worldwide, and you can check out the link down below in the description as well as the pinned comment to buy yours today. So thanks very much for watching that promotional content. I do greatly appreciate it. Now into the Western Conference. On to the Central Division. No huge surprise. I've got the Colorado Avalanche finishing in first place. Pretty much a consensus around anybody doing these predictions that the Avs will win the division. Absolute juggernaut up front with tons of offensive talent. Young, exciting blue line with all kinds of offense. Goaltending is different this year, but I do have confidence that Darcy Kuemper can play just as well as Grubauer and not miss a beat in that regard. And the Avs will go on here to win this division again. Winnipeg is my number 2 team. I think the Winnipeg Jets are, to me, built to really have a lot of success here. I know some feel a little bit differently about that, but I love the goaltending. Connor Hellebuyck. The blue line is greatly improved, in my opinion, or should be, with guys like Dillon and Schmidt being added back there. I think the blue line will be a lot stronger, has better size, mobility, and toughness. Up front, they have some absolute, they have some stud offensive players like Kyle Connor, like Nick Ehlers, Mark Scheifele, Blake Wheeler. Andrew Komp's going to have another big year for them as well. Pierre-Luc Dubois should bounce back and be a huge part of it. And I really think this team is going to have tremendous success. And I have them going into second place. Number 3, we've got the Minnesota Wild. After signing Kirill Kaprizov, I think they're going to pick up where they left off last year and be a force. They have some good goaltending. They have a solid blue line. Certainly an underrated blue line in my opinion. And then they got some more offensive gifted talent with this team. They signed Eriksson Ek to a long-term deal. They get Fiala signed. Kaprizov's back. I still think that they're going to be a team that, maybe takes a step back a little bit this year, but we'll see where things go because I think they're going to have some teams coming up behind them here. Fourth place, I've got the Dallas Stars. Now, this one was tough as well. Last year, they missed the playoffs, but you know what? That was mostly due to injuries. If this team can stay healthy, I think they can be a playoff team. I think there's a lot there to like. They have a plethora of goaltending. I can see a goaltender being traded at some point before the deadline for sure. But again, this team is an older team. If they run into injuries again, it could be a real cause for concern. But they should have one of the better blue lines around the NHL with the addition of Ryan Suter. With what they have there with Klingberg and Heiskanen and Lindell. I really like their blue line, possibly even the best in the NHL. So when you throw in a real solid blue line with some solid goaltending, which they should be able to get amongst the guys they have there, then, the offense should come and keep them in a lot of games. Even if they have to win some tighter games, it can be done, and Dallas should be right in the mix for the playoffs. Number 5, I've got the St. Louis Blues. I don't see them going any higher in this division. I think the teams ahead of them are all stronger. I do have concerns over Jordan Binnington and his stats and the way things have progressed the past couple of years. To me, that's one of the things holding me back, moving him up higher. We'll see if he can get back to his Stanley Cup form and prove me wrong on that. But that's my main concern there. The blue line looks pretty good. Up front, they added some interesting pieces to be able to score goals. I think they have 3 lines that can possibly be scoring goals. And be scoring lines for them, which really gives them a different look on any given night. Will Tarasenko be able to produce? Will he be traded? That's going to be a storyline to watch with this team as well. But between the Tarasenko and Binnington stories, I just think that that's the best they're going to be able to do, but we'll see if I'm right on that. Number 6, we've got the Chicago Blackhawks. Even though they made lots of changes, they added Seth Jones, they added Marc-Andre Fleury. I just don't think it's going to be quite enough to get them any higher here in the standings. I think Fleury will only be with the Hawks for the 1 year, most likely. But even though they've made all these changes, we're going to continue to see more changes with this team. How much of an impact will Jonathan Toews have coming back? That's another big question as well. Number 7, we've got the Nashville Predators. I think the Preds are heading towards more of a rebuild like the Columbus Blue Jackets. They just haven't really realized it yet. They get some big contracts like Johansson and Duchesne that just haven't been able to produce. And at the end of the day here, they need to get going, and just, they're holding this team back. It's going to be tough to rebuild with all that money tied up. But to me, I don't see them having a solid year. And of course, last but not least, we've got the Arizona Coyotes, who appear to be heading towards Team Tank 2022, along with the Buffalo Sabres, trying their best here to be the top lottery team and get a top draft pick. That with all the moves they've made, it's evident that's what they're looking to do this year. Now, last but not least, let's go to the Pacific Division. The number one team in that division this year should be the Vegas Golden Knights. I don't think there's too many people have another team winning the division. The Golden Knights have been on top team here for some time. Obviously, we'll be pushing again for a Stanley Cup again this year. They have it, up and down the lineup. There's really not much weakness. If they do have weakness, it's down the middle. As a top center, they certainly have better center depth this year, but they still don't have that top guy who can be, a bona fide number 1C, but we'll see. That may not hold them back in the regular season. Might be more of an issue in the playoffs. Number 2, I've got the Edmonton Oilers. The two-headed monster of McDavid and Draisaitl should be able to continue where they left off last year and have a real solid year. My concern with the Oilers is definitely between the pipes. I think the blue line should be okay. Offensive for sure. But there certainly are some concerns over a guy like Duncan Keith and how much he can contribute. But overall, I think the goals going in for the Oilers will keep them winning more games than they're losing, and will be in the number 2 spot in the division. But come playoff time, I have concerns for them as well. Number 3, I've got the Vancouver Canucks. I think the Canucks have bounced back here with some decent moves. They got Pettersson and Hughes signed, which will be big parts of the team's future. And obviously with the additions that they've made, I like this team, especially with Connor Garland on the wing, likely playing with Bo Horvat. I think they're going to have more depth. And overall, I like this team to finish in 3rd place. Number 4, we've got the Los Angeles Kings. I think the Kings are going to be a greatly improved team this year. I'm surprised they're not injecting more youth into their lineup. They've gone ahead and added several players that are more experienced, like Philip Deneau, Victor Arvidsson. They have some question marks between the pipes. Will Jonathan Quick be there much longer? I'm not sure, but I can see with the additions they've made and the young players that they're hoping to slowly build into this lineup throughout the year that this team should be in contention for playoffs for sure. Number 5, I've got the expansion Seattle Kraken, arguably the toughest team to predict since we haven't seen them play before. To me, they have a good goaltending, real good goaltending. They look like they're going to be a real good defensive team. My concern is who's going to score their goals. I don't see enough firepower there to win enough games. I think we're going to see them fall short on a lot of 2-1, 3-2 type games, and they will have a good season, not to the point that the Vegas Golden Knights did in their first year, but they will be a good, exciting team to watch. But I think they're going to have to build in some more offense before they're going to go to the playoffs, in my opinion. But hey, Vegas proved everybody wrong too, so the Kraken very well could do the same thing. It's really hard to say where things are going to go. If they have some guys step up and become stars that they did not see with their other teams, and this could be totally off the rails. Number 6, I've got the Calgary Flames. The Flames are a team I suspect to not do well this year. They didn't see enough change last year, and to me, they're not any better. So overall, I see this team struggling and missing the playoffs. Some significant changes. Number 7, I got the Anaheim Ducks. The Ducks are going to be near the bottom of the list here. The Ducks are a team to watch when it comes to making trades. I think they have some more vets they're going to unload, and could be in the mix for Jack Eichel as well. But again, I don't think the Anaheim's real focusing on the standings right now. They're focusing on the future. And last but not least, we got the San Jose Sharks. I don't think this team is capable of climbing out of the basement this year. They just don't have the talent, and the talent they do have is making a lot of money, but it's not the same as they used to be. They're older, slowing down, and battled injuries, and to me, I don't see much success coming their way. So that is my full standings predictions. I know it's a lot to digest here, but certainly let me know what your thoughts are down below, and we will discuss further. We'll look back on these later on to see how we made out. But again, this is just for fun. Those are my thoughts. Let me know what yours are, and we'll talk about it in the comment section. If you're new to this channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with all the latest news, rumors, and analysis on all 32 NHL teams. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.